Exclusive to Totally Workwear.
Twilight program at Lakeside closes with the Ladbrokes Punter Assist Handicap, a benchmark 70 over 1200 metres. Horse one is Exeter. He's third up here for Gavin Bedgergood.
He's been solid in 2 runs for the new stable. He's a tough on-speed horse. He doesn't have too many sort of change-ups with his style. He should roll forward and be competitive here in this race.
He's a solid horse too in terms of his form, solid as you said, BZ, but he's just a good, solid, robust horse, and now that he's had the recent runs, he's probably close to peak fitness, but he always carries that little bit of condition, but stepping out really well, looks nice in his action. 2
is scratching, horses 3, 4, 5 yet to grace us with their presence, so let's take a look at horse 6, Bellinger here for the Vic Hustlers.
I thought his run 2 starts ago was great at Cranbourne. He was a little underwhelming at Wodonga on Cup Day behind He's Exceptional. The blinkers go back on here, maybe that gear change can improve him.
Coping well with the application of blinkers, and as opposed to Exeter, he's quite an athletic, relatively fine style of horse. He's not carrying a lot of excess condition at all, so he's again moving well, and he's right at the top of his game fitness-wise.
7 scratched, 8 deprivation, another who comes via Wodonga Cup Day, BZ. And interesting to note, RV Stewart's putting out a tweet a little bit earlier. Horse had a vet exam after a twisted plate in the near hind en route, but has been past fit to run.
He was a first-up winner at Moonee Valley on wet ground, defeating Superazi. And then he went to Wodonga and he was a big drifter in the market, 260 out to 330. And again, I thought he was disappointing on that occasion. He is an on-speed horse who likes to control. It wasn't a fast run race at Wodonga. Maybe they went a little bit too slow with him. I'm not too sure. But his best form was certainly better than what he produced last start.
9, Diesel and Dust, was in front of Deprivation when third at Wodonga.
Yeah, another who comes out of that race. He's been quite consistent this preparation, but he hasn't won for a long time. He just seems to run the same races, parking behind the speed. He lets go late with a good dash and just falls 1 or 2 lengths short, and I'd imagine he'd probably produce a similar run here today.
He can bounce around the mounting yard at times. That's not unusual for him, and he's nice and fit, as you would expect, with recent racing under the belt, not carrying a lot of excess condition and a little bit on the toe, which is quite normal.
10, Danny St. Darcy's had a little bit of a break since running behind Najim Sahel on Sale Cup Day.
A little underwhelming in 2 runs of the preparation, so they've given this mare a bit of a gap, come back to the races, and maybe that's what she needs, because her best form is certainly better than what she's produced at the past 2 starts, and she might be able to do that now fresh.
Another one that's quite a solid, robust unit, and a couple of runs under the belt. There's been some tightening, but always carries that little bit of condition, but probably another run might even help get closer to peak fitness.
11, Vermentino, 2 for 2, Ben Mellum in the saddle, as he was here 3 weeks ago.
Could not have been more impressive at both his career runs, unbeaten from 2 starts, and smashed the clock in what was a fast run race here 3 weeks ago. He did draw the inside gate, and it was beneficial to be on the inside on that occasion, but I think now he's drawn out deep. I don't think that's at all concern. He looks to be an exciting prospect, and who knows what the ceiling is with this horse. He's a really, really promising galloper.
And he parades with a bit of intent. Looks like he's got quite a lot of alertness and brightness, and he's taking the surroundings in, but he's really stepping out well through the bridle. He's improved a touch first up from that run, but I think he's going to carry that little bit of condition. That's him, but yeah, he's looking good, and he's improved importantly from that first up run.
12, Miso's 2 for 2 thus far.
Another horse who knows where the ceiling is with him. He was impressive winning on debut at Warwick-Nabil, and he backed it up with a strong performance at Geelong 3 weeks ago. The overall rating wasn't as high as what we saw from Vermentino, but the race was run differently. It was a slow-to-run race. He settled outside the leader. They only sort of crawled, and then he dashed, and he put the field away very comfortably. Who knows, he might be able to sort of step up in tempo and appreciate that as well. He's a very promising horse who looks like he's the next top liner for Daniel Bowman.
He's got a bit of athleticism about him too. He steps out well, and he looks quite fit. Second up, he looks like he's not far away from being close to peak fitness. He's got a bit of presence about him. Looks great in the coat, stepping out well.
Several Bob Peters runners now in the care of John Leake Jr. We see the 13 Frigid make a debut for the stable here. 3 career victories at Belmont between 1,000 and 1,400.
Very difficult to line up that West Australian sort of low class, class 1 restricted metro form compared to what we've got here, but you trust that she's got a good pedigree, she's got a good record to start a career, and looking at the times that she's run respective to benchmarks over in Perth, it's been quite quick, so there might be a bit of talent with this mare. She could be spotting the key contenders a bit of a start, but there has been some market support to suggest that she can finish right in the mix here.
John helping just get around the mounting yard, making sure she's as composed as possible. She's got a little bit forward forward and keen to get on with it, a little bit on the bounce, but she looks like she's got a really good foundation of fitness.
14 Gunner has been ultra close in both its runs this campaign.
Chris Calthorpe's got this mare going really well. Narrowly beaten at Moonee Valley, just the bob beaten there behind Red Zeus, and then Star Spirit was too strong at Warrnambool, but it was still a competitive performance, typical of what we've seen from this mare right throughout her career. And she's drawn out a little bit deep, but I don't think that's a concern here today.
She's fit. She's not the most robust, imposing style of horse, but that's just her makeup. She's neat. She's well put together. She's fit and parading well.
15 commands the field, second up, and was a winner this track and trip back in April.
It was a really good performance first up as well, considering how wet that track was. I think she's better suited on a faster surface than at Ballarat. Her trials leading into a fresh up run were outstanding. She should stalk the speed and look to hit the line strongly.
She's got a bit of athleticism and size about her too, and she looks in very good order for her. She doesn't carry a lot of condition. Ben Mellum's just come off Vermentino in the mounting yard here. He's a little bit on the toe as they try and get him on the track, commands the field, looks nice and fit and doesn't carry a lot of condition, as I said, very forward second up.
16 through 19 scratchings. We can see Ben Mellum and Lee Allen just trying to work things out there with Vermentino. Back to the 3 in Evening Glory, who's another who comes out of Ballarat Cup Day, BZ.
Good form race behind All About Eve. I would have found the 1100 metres a little too slick. Coming up to the 12 is ideal. May even want 1400 metres, but there could be improvement second up. Got a good record second up and should appreciate getting onto a firmer surface as well.
Yeah, I think taking some improvement out of that first up run, and a horse who has had enough experience and he generally parades well. Quite a typical parade from him. I think he's progressing well.
4 Lumberpunk resumes.
It was first up off a break. The back end of his last preparation was a little inconsistent. He was putting in a good run, sort of sandwiched between a couple of average ones, and first up record's not great. He does have a good record at the trip, and he just might like being on top of the ground here.
Didn't look that far away first up, not carrying a lot of excess condition, so I'd say it's quite forward for this first up run.
The 5 San Fabrizio returns to Australian soil, was running here in early 2021, then has had just the 3 runs in Hong Kong.
It started its career in Europe and then found its way to the Hawks team and then went back to Hong Kong and now finds itself with Chris Waller. So it's covered plenty of ground, plenty of frequent flyer points, but returns to Victoria, where it did have 2 runs. And the market support for this horse on 2 occasions was very, very strong. I think there was a few people out there that thought he was a serious horse, and he was only narrowly beaten one day at Flemington behind Vegas Knights. So he's got the quality. It's just whether he's going to be ready and fit as some of the others here today. But interesting placement with San Fabrizio.
He's quite healthy. He looks like the run will perhaps help bring him on from a fitness point of view. Quite a number of these horses early in their preparation look very fit. I think there's some improvement to come there.
So let's look at the field for the last, and Vermentino is being walked onto the track by Lee Allen from the Marusa stable. Ben Mellum had attempted to get aboard in the mounting yard in the last 60 seconds, wasn't able to stay aboard. So this is an interesting one unfolding with a short price favourite. Who's your tip in the last, BZ?
I've got him on top. It's not ideal when you see some antics like that and having to use the clerk of the course and almost like a running start for Ben Mellum to get into the saddle. He's just got into the saddle now and he looks to be going to the start okay. Hopefully he can sort of work out his manners. He's still being a bit of a naughty boy, but I've got him on top, but not something that you want to see. Warren, what did you make of his performance in the yard?
I thought he looked well before Ben Mellum started to get aboard. I thought it improved from that first up run, and that type of behaviour, I think it's something, although he's very early in his career, it's not totally unusual for him to get up and about, but it was worse than you would have expected, and I think worse than you would like. And I thought number 8, Deprivation, paraded very well, but I was particularly taken with the parade of number 12, Miso, who really athletic style of horse, parading well, looked very fit. Second up, so pick of the yard for me, number 12, Miso.
And Miso, the pick of the yard, has just trimmed up late in betting from $5.50 into $5. It was all about the favourite in Vermentino, who got into $1.90, just pushed back out to $2 late with those antics pre-race. Frigid at $8.50, the other runner in single-figure odds, then commands the field best the rest at $13. So hopefully punters can get the cash in the last and maybe build a bank for Saturday. Racing at 2 terrific venues, Flemington and Eagle Farm, and you can use the switch on races 1 to 4.
Warrnambool-based trainer Dan Bowman joins us. Miso 2 for 2 and brought to town, and rightly so based on what we saw last start. Dan, how's the horse progressing?
Yeah, natural progression to step up in grade again and come here. He's done good. He's tightened up got a good fitness out of the first up run, so can't fault him today.
How do the conditions of the day suit the horse in terms of track, the complexion of the field, and how the Lakeside Circuit's been playing so far?
Barrier suits for us to be able to take a position in the first 5. The day sort of played out. You have to be there, so we should be able to be there without doing too much work, and hopefully he gets a crack at him from the top of the straight. How
has he come on in terms of fitness since that fresh run?
Yeah, really good. Got good benefit out of that. Had a good gallop on Friday, last week for this at Warrnambool. So, yeah, look, I can't fault him. If he's good enough, he's good enough.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Dan Bowman there. Miso, son of Fighting Son, trying to protect that winning record. It's a similar story for the hot favourite Vermentino, who's certainly been a little bit cantankerous in the mounting yard, and we'll see how Ben Melham can pilot him here as he chases back-to-back victories aboard the horse from Eustace. To Matt Hill for his call of the last here at Lakeside.
Diesel Dust is the first one into the stalls. Evening Glory going in with Bellinger and also Gunner Gunner getting set for the final time today. Evening Glory going forwards. Of course, swag of tennis identities in the ownership of Evening Glory. Good luck to all of the teams. Getting to that time of year again, isn't it? Now, Vermentino, who was a little bit reluctant to leave the mounting yard, won't go into the stalls at the moment. Currently rideless, and the attendants are encouraging Vermentino to go forward. Frigid's a little bit fired up as well over there. Frigid with the barrier blankets. A horse that has formerly raced in Western Australia. Now, Vermentino has gone in. So it's in the stalls. I'm getting $2 on the tote at the moment, and more tote support now for Miso into $4.90 after being 7 into 5 on Vops. Exeter comes along for Aaron Lynch. Frigid waits its turn with Deprivation, San Fabrizio. Miso, Danny Darcy as Gunner Gunner comes along. Impressive winner already today for Peter Moody with Shuffle Dancer. Certainly a horse to follow out of the meeting. Peter Moody with a couple of winners. Also Michael D and Dan Stackhouse sharing riding honours with a couple of doubles apiece. Now Frigid has gone in rideless. Jockey Jamie Mott jumps into the structure as Danny Darcy comes along with Deprivation. 2 to get set, Lumber Punk and also San Fabrizio. So Deprivation is in, San Fabrizio comes up. Formerly raced in France, and Lumber Punk to complete it. The last of 8 to conclude another twilight fixture here at Ladbrokes Park, Sandown, and they're ready. Set at the 1200 metres. Holds them, set, and away they go. Pretty good line. Dropping out, commands the field back to the end. Lumber Punk second last. Vermentino fired out straight to the lead from Exeter. Deprivation. Behind those Diesel and Dust, Gunner Gunner, Evening Glory. They were followed by Bellinger as they complete 250. 2 for the backers, Miso midfield. They were followed next by San Fabrizio. Commands the field, Frigid, Danny Darcy. And at the back is Lumber Punk. 750 metres to go. Vermentino slowed it up by 3/4 of a length. Deprivation. And then came Exeter and Gunner Gunner. A length Evening Glory, Diesel and Dust and Bellinger. 3 and 4 deep, forced wider from Miso, Frigid. 2 for the back in the field, San Fabrizio. Danny Darcy commands the field, and Lumber Punk is at the end. Vermentino from Deprivation as they run the 400. Exeter behind them, then Evening Glory, Diesel and Dust. Miso's trying to work into the clear, and Bellinger down the outside. Vermentino, Melham hasn't flinched yet. 250 metres to go. 3 lengths, Bellinger, Deprivation, Exeter, and then San Fabrizio. Vermentino tried to balk at the birds there, but he's still going. 2 lengths in front of Bellinger. Vermentino, there's a bit to learn. Had a bit of a gawk around and still won. Oh, that was impressive. Vermentino from Bellinger and Miso, but the Seagulls almost brought it undone. Behind those horses, Frigid and San Fabrizio, then Danny Darcy. Back in the field then was Evening Glory in company with Commands the Field, Diesel and Dust. Back in the field, Exeter, Deprivation, and at the end was Gunner Gunner. Soft win, Vermentino, 3 from 3, and a little bit of a concern at about the 200 metres when he wanted to have a bit of a look around, but Vermentino, very impressive horse indeed. And that's something to take away from the meeting. He'll be winning better races than that. Vermentino, untouched, remains undefeated at $1.90 and $1.30 from Ballinger seconds. Ballinger trained by Ben and J.D. Hayes with Craig Williams up. And we stand by for third. Darting through between horses, Mizo was prominent. But there's no doubt about it. He wanted to have a bit of a balk at about the 200 metres and just having to slap him up, Mellum, just to keep his eye on the job. There was a swag of birds just near the inside running rail and it caught his eye. But he's been just a little bit too good in the run home. Vermentino just had too much on them. So despite a few little dramas getting off to the gates and then getting into the stalls, and once the race even happened, Vermentino was an easy watch at the end. 11, 6, 12 and 13. 11, 6, 12 and 13. 1:12.30 won the race time. The winner untouched. 11, 6, 12 and 13 to the last. Lee Allen from the stable is down there now with Nigel with his summary of Vermentino there in the last.
Well, Vermentino carrying on more like a 4-year-old of the human variety at 7:30 p.m. on a Wednesday night. But Lee Allen joins us 3 from 3 now. Talk us through what was going on in the mounting yard and then you and Ben having to lead the horse out onto the track.
Yeah, well, I think it might have been the first time he's ever had a saddle that small on him, but he was carrying on like a pork chop, and the last 10 minutes is probably a good example of what his last 4 years or 3 years with us have been like. He's been very hard to deal with. We've had to geld him. He's been a barrier rogue. And he's had truck issues and that also. He's had plenty of issues to come with it, but you can take that all when they've got ability like that.
Apart from the obvious of just getting Ben aboard, what's your focus in moments like that?
Get the horse out onto the track. Yeah, Ben's good with that. He's a very good rider. And, yeah, we was talking before the race, we weren't going to make any ground, so we just needed to be positive. I didn't think we were going to get the lead that easy, so he's done a very good job there. But very good to Seymour Bloodstock, Darren Thomas, Mark Pilkington. Like, they've had to wait a long time for him, and they're starting to reap the rewards.
A touch of class, and perhaps those horses we love, it's good to see them fly from the back, but it's even better sometimes to just see them jump, travel, cruise, and then extend. And he's got all those attributes, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does have that attribute, but I still think he can be a horse who, when we get over like a little bit more of a trip, he can come from behind and come over the top of him. Like we thought maybe that might have been happening today, but yeah, he's shown that he's got good gate speed and he'll put him away pretty easily there.
Just quickly, what did you make of the performance of Oceanography a little bit earlier on?
Oceanography was good. I thought with the extra weight we had, he'd be able to hit off the rail, but yeah, he's in very good form and he'll knock off a race like that next start or the start after that.
Congrats on a successful but hard-working end to the day, Lee.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Ben Mellum joins us. The dynamic duo have managed to find a way with Vermentino, who's now 3 for 3. He's not the most fun to be involved with prior to a race, but he's good to get on and let loose.
Yeah, it was really uncharacteristic for him because he's, he normally gets a little bit busy, but had a real Benny's bonnet today, and like I said, it was a bit of a concern for me, but in the race it was no dramas. He left well and I probably wanted a bit of cover, but he broke really cleanly and on a day that you've sort of obviously been hard to make ground. So we had a few seagulls to contend with halfway up, but he's a good horse and he's got a bright future.
Did he go better than 3 weeks ago when Victoria's here?
Probably. Obviously, he hadn't run for a long time first up the other day, and he's made good improvement into here today, but still quite raw, but lovely upside to him.
Ben, well done.
Thank you.
Big performance from Vermentino. Remains unbeaten. He was fired out of the barriers, and it was a real aggressive ride by Ben Mellum, and it's probably the best way to handle a horse like that, Warren, he's obviously got a few things up in his mind that he still needs to work out, but there's no point fighting him. You might as well let him be a fast horse.
Great rider for a challenge like that in Ben Mellum, but you'd have to think everything that went on pre-race couldn't have helped his performance, so for him to still produce an effort like that and dominate that race is an indication that he's on to much better races.
Yeah, big run there by Vermentino, taking out the last. We're going to take a quick break here on racing.com. Back to wrap up the day soon.